Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Erica Palmer, and I'm the founder of Next Girl Up. Thank you all very much for joining us today. I know summer nights can be extremely busy, so I appreciate you all prioritizing this event over all the million other things I know you could be doing. So I actually had the pleasure of meeting Stephanie at a conference back in January. And as all good conferences go, after the event ended, I had a ton of people to send follow-up emails to. But Stephanie was one I was really looking forward to connecting with. Not only did we have a great conversation that day, but I was so impressed with her experience as both a professional athlete and also her career. So I couldn't wait to learn more. And then once we did have our follow-up call, I knew we had to do something together because her story and drive are exactly what Next Girl Up really embodies. So here we are. And before we jump into our conversation, which I promise will begin in a minute, I just wanted to share why this event is so meaningful to Next Girl Up in our organization. And again, why a conversation like this aligns perfectly with our mission. So, if you're not familiar, at Next Girl Up, our mission is to empower the next generation of girls to lead with confidence, creativity, and courage. And the reason we do this is because while numbers are definitely improving, women are still really underrepresented in leadership and still face a lot of barriers when it comes to pay, funding, and opportunity. So we're working to change that by reaching girls early and to let them know that they can be business owners, they can run board meetings, they can lead teams of 1 to 1,000 if they want to. And this is something that we do currently through education. So we kind of bucket things into the things we teach directly and the things we teach indirectly. But when it comes to our curriculum, this is really what we focus on. Always start with the marketing deep dive and then teach them how to start a business. So when they go through our program, and we have a 10-week program, a 2-day immersive version, and then a virtual accelerator that's self-paced, they always leave with a business plan and a certificate of completion and access to a network of mentors and a bunch of other things, really trying to give them tangible things to show for what they did with their time. But then my favorite is always the things that we end up teaching indirectly. So through the way we teach in our curriculum and the format, we really try to help them find their voice and build confidence, make meaningful connections with one another. Some of my favorite stories are, the girls who didn't know each other coming into the program, but 5 years later, they're still in touch with one another, and really try to make them feel comfortable expressing their ideas, collaborating. We give them leadership opportunities and just help them really push past their comfort zone. So that's just a little bit about what we do. And that's really the perfect segue to now introduce you to Olympic bronze medalist Stephanie Rovetti. I'm going to stop sharing right now and give Steph a minute to introduce herself.
Okay, yes. Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited for this panel. When I met Erica and Next Girl Up, I remember we were talking and she was sharing about what she did. And I just remember thinking, I wish that I had that when I was growing up, because I learned all these things through sports and a lot of things that we connect on. I developed in sport and leadership, and then I didn't know how to translate it when I wanted to get into business, and that's that part of what I wanted. So I loved what she was doing at Next Girl Up. So I've been really looking forward to this panel. And so just a little bit about me. I grew up in Reno, Nevada. Played a lot of sports growing up and played basketball in college. And so actually wasn't a rugby player until I was 26, and then I got to be on the national team for about 6 years. I got to travel all around the world, had the best time, and went to the Paris Olympics where we got the bronze medal. So that was like the last part of my career, my athletic career. And then I transitioned recently, those last 2 years, over to real life. So I'll get into a little bit more of that as we go through the panel, but that's just a little bit about me. And yeah, I'll stop there.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. And we're so grateful for your time and for joining us today. We had so many questions come in through the registration form, and I tried to bucket them chronologically. So bear with me. I'm also going to try to squeeze them all in. So without making this feel like a therapy session, can you please tell us what your childhood was like? Let's start there.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, my childhood was very chaotic in the sense of I tried so many things. Like I didn't just go straight to sports. I did music and I danced and I did a lot of different sports. I wasn't just really focused on one. So I'm one of five kids, and so I have two older sisters that are pretty younger brother and a younger sister. But my two older sisters were pretty close in age, and so we just competed at everything. So there was a very competitive little girl, and so I just kind of would follow what my sisters were doing and just try to beat them and try to be better at them. So that included sports, and so I ended up really falling in love with basketball when I was little, and so I always asked my mom, can I always play more basketball? Can I play more basketball? So I ended up pursuing that and did that a lot through, especially when I got into high school and on. So ended up going to college for that, but really just tried doing a lot of things and just tried to use my childhood to explore what I love and what I'm good at, and just making sure that I tried everything was something that I just loved. So
That's great. I am a big fan of the multi-sport athlete. There's a lot of focus right now in youth sports, especially about kind of hyper focusing on one one sport. And
mm,
anyone I can get the ear of, I tell them, of course you can specialize as you get older, but as you're growing up, do it all. So,
absolutely.
what did inspire you to start playing rugby?
Well, I mentioned that I did everything that my older sisters did. So I can't say that I actually got into rugby myself. My older sister Morgan, she found rugby. So she was in college, and I think her dorm mate was there, and she said, "Hey Morgan, do you want to, go try out for this rugby club?" And she's like, "No idea what that is, but sure." And so she was really a lot better than me when I started. But she encouraged me after I was done playing basketball. She said, "Steph, you should really go play rugby. I think you'd really like it. I think you'd be good at it. And like the girls around there are really cool. Like you think you'd have a really good experience there." So I actually found it when I was living in San Diego. I just moved there and I didn't really have very many friends. And so I did it more of a social thing, and there was some competitiveness, but they said it's such a cool group of girls. And I remember I told my sister, like I'm pretty fast, but I'm not strong, like I'm not big. And I was like, I don't know if that's for me. And she said, Steph, like rugby, like you can use all different types of body types, skills, everything's needed, so just go try. And so I did. So that's how I got into rugby, and I'll credit it to my sister, or she'll get mad at me. So
Perfect. Were there a lot of transferable skills from basketball to rugby?
yeah, actually more than I thought. And well, there's one side of the being an athlete, so being really good at it on a team and being able to take feedback and be coachable and performing at a high level. I had all those skills which translate across all sports. But there's a lot of similarities to basketball with like how you read space and your footwork. And I used a lot of the things that I did in basketball actually translated over really a lot easier. Sometimes I'd try a skill and I'd be like, oh, that actually came really naturally. Oh, that's actually kind of like what we did in basketball of this, and this. So the contact part was hard for me because that didn't really translate over very well. But it was a lot easier than I had anticipated.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Okay, so one question that came through, what did you worry about in high school that turned out not to matter?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I had a pretty big like ego when I was younger. Like I hated being bad at things. Like I was naturally pretty good at sports. And so I hated doing something that I didn't feel like I was really good at just like from the start. And I think that kept me from doing a lot of things and trying a lot of things, which I end up trying later in my life. But I think I worried about like looking bad and being bad when I first started. And I've since then gotten rid of that. And my life, I feel like, is so much better. And knowing that that's really a process and everyone goes through that, I didn't really know that, I think, when I was younger.
Yeah, and it's so hard for our high schoolers or middle schoolers listening. When you're in it, it's your whole world. Like,
Hmm.
whatever your problem or, what you might be going through at that age, you don't know that there's so much life and so many things happening outside of that will,
Yes.
when you look back, it'll just be like, why was I so worried about that?
Hmm.
Thing. But that's a good one. What is one experience you had or opportunity you took when you were younger that you feel most supported your athletic career?
Yeah, I don't think it's one opportunity. I think there's a lot of different ones. Something that came to mind is building my support network. And what I mean by that is I needed people in my corner, and that was automatically my family. I felt like I was always in my corner, but there came opportunities where there'd be a coach that would be like, oh, would really be invested in helping me, or a friend that was my teammate that was like, I felt like was in my corner. And something that I did when I was younger, looking back, that I'm really glad that I did was really like invest in the people that I want in my corner and really be selective about people I want in a corner. If there's a coach, I had a coach, his name is Coach Aaron, but he was really like wanting to coach me and really invested in me, and he was really helping me. And I spent a lot of time with him asking to be coached by him, and making it a two-way relationship and not just my coach coaching me. And so we built a really good relationship, and I learned a lot from him, but it wasn't just one way. And so that was where I spent my time and my effort and really put an effort to be coached. And that made me have more people in my corner. Same thing with, my teammates and my friends, people who really were helping me and building me up. I really invested more of my time with them, and knowing that I need a corner and I need to have certain people on my corner at different times. And I also want to be in other people's corners. And so something that really helped me get through that is getting different people in my corner and really identifying like who really builds me up, and who's really either inspiring me or helping me, or who do I trust, and how do I spend my time investing in back to them as well. So I still keep in contact with those coaches, and I've called on them to be in my corner as my career's progressed at any time. So that's really when it started. And I probably could have done it better, but really making sure that you're not just receiving but information and being coached, but like really like ask questions and get to know them and seek to be coached. I think that's really, really impactful.
Yeah, and I know we're going to transfer more into the career stuff later, but it reminds me a lot about with school and your relationship with your professors and teachers, and
Mhm.
how, I always, when anybody talks about college, I'm like, my one advice is like, one, go to the library, but two,
Mhm.
get to know your professors. Like they can help you so much, and it reminded me a lot of what you're saying, like that two-way road can be really special and really change your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so switching to the Olympics, because this is definitely where we got the most questions. You mentioned a little bit, but how did you get started on a path that ultimately ended with the Olympics? Like, how did you go from San Diego to Paris?
Yeah. Well, I will say I didn't know I was on the path to the Olympics so very, very late in my life. So I found rugby when I was 26. So I'd had a full childhood. I went to college. I did that. I went into the career field. Then I went back to sports. So I never had the like, hey, I'm doing all this because I want to go to the Olympics. It was really just following, what do I love? What am I passionate about? What's had meaning for me? And so that's how it kind of steered into back into rugby, which is kind of why I got started. So I actually played on a rugby club team in San Diego, which my sister told me about. And then the coach there was not then my Olympic coach. So she was helping out the club. And so she saw me. And at that time, rugby is not super developed in the US. And so they kind of, it's a little bit more actually now since I started, but they took athletes that were good in their sport and then they taught them. And so my coach there saw me and said, hey, I think you're really good at being coached. I think you're a good teammate. I think you have really good skills. I can see you being a good rugby player. You have zero rugby skills, but we think that we can teach that to you. So why don't you come try out for the national team? And so I went and for 3 months and just trained in that environment with all those girls, and they helped me to learn rugby. And then I just progressed as that happened. But I never was like, hey, I'm gonna go do this because I want to go to the Olympics. I think it's cool. And was it in my mind? Yeah, it was in my mind when I got on the national team. But you don't really realize you're on that path until it's getting closer to that path. So yeah, I'll stop there.
Yeah, no, did you find that the majority of your teammates had a similar experience, or were they kind of raised in a rugby household and culture?
What's so funny is like no people played rugby in high school. Like we
Yeah.
had college soccer, hockey, cheerleading, track and fields. We had gymnastics. So we had all these. They played a little rugby here and there, but that was really cool about rugby is that like, yeah, none of us, well, very few of us played before. So we're all kind of bringing our own different skills and whatever, like with the soccer players were really good at kicking. I was really good at like footwork because I played basketball and like ball, like handling the ball. And so that made it pretty fun. But that was an experience of a lot of the players. So when I came on new, I was like, okay, well, I'm coming on the national team. I'm so, first of all, so scared. These girls I feel like are like Olympians. And I don't know, I need them to teach me how to pass, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but they were, the environment there was so like, oh, no problem. We're going to teach you. Like we're competing and we have expectations and standards, but like we'll teach you. And that's really what kept me staying with rugby. I think it's a really unique culture. And I try to put that forward as well of just, you know, we're competing for the same spot, but we're also helping each other and teaching each other. It's really hard to do, but it's really magical when you find that.
Yeah, two things came to mind. One, I'm sure all the European countries who grow up playing rugby love that the American team, came in third after and just kind of threw a team of athletes together. I'm sure they love that. But also, it kind of reminds me of the vibes of A League of Their Own a little bit, where it's like we all
Mhm.
really want something and we're gonna, together figure out how to make it happen.
Yeah, totally. Well, we were known, every team kind of has their own identity, and the US was like, we're kind of known for like really good athletes, but like don't know anything about rugby. They kind of called us like the dumb jocks, which were like we hated. So that was like our like, you know, what drove us a little bit. Like we're gonna learn rugby and we're gonna
Yeah,
be good because that's not a name we like. So
that's hilarious. What do you think most people misunderstood about what it actually takes to compete at the Olympic level?
yeah, well, two things. One, it's a lot of sacrifice, and it's really, really special to do something that you put your whole self into, but that does come with some sacrifices when you get to that level. And so I had to sacrifice a lot of things in my life to chase that dream, which I couldn't do forever. And it has a purpose in your life, and but there's so much outside of life that you have to kind of put on pause. So that's like the kind of the dreary side of that takes a really big commitment if you are at that level. But secondly, I think what you don't realize is how much mental training that goes into it. When we went to Paris, like when we actually got on the plane 2 weeks before the Olympics and we went, we did like such few sessions on the field, like training, like a little bit here and there, but the majority, like 80%, was all mental training. We took our sports psychologists, but we work every day at just mental training, and so it's a very high amount. And when we trained, we would train, have like a sports psychology or a culture meeting or like relationships of our teammates meeting daily. And so that surprised me too as well at that level of that really what puts you above, because everyone is physically just and skill wise are really, really good, but that's really going to help you put you above that 1%. So I guess those two things I think are you don't always think about.
Yeah. Can you give us an example of what a session with the sports psychologist would look like? Like what does mental training look like?
Yeah. So we had a couple different things. One, you could just have like one-on-one sessions and like talk about like, hey, I'm really not feeling confident, or, you know, I got this injury and I'm kind of scared. So you can, you know, I'm hesitant and help me through that. So there's that kind of one-on-one work. But more impactfully was we did something we called Mind Gym. And this is something we did every single day before for like only 5 minutes before every session, like rugby session that we did. And that would look like either like a affirmations type thing of like, okay, we had these five values. So one of the values is courage. And so you say an action that looks like courage. So like tackling looks like courage. And then so you just go around in a circle with your teammates and you just kind of like talk that through. There's also like gratitude drops where you'll be in a group of three and you'll just for 5 minutes, so just go around and just keep saying what you're thankful for. Just keep saying what you're thankful for. There was that portion of it. We'd also just as a group had a lot of discussions about talking about just different things that you're feeling. And why do we keep losing in the quarterfinal? Okay, well, what's going, like, we know the rugby part, but like what's going through our head when they scored that try to go up 2 tries to nothing? what are you feeling and how does that impact your actions? And so just having those like talking and talking is just so much talking, which is really, really important and really great. So we had that mind gym session, we had our group sessions, and then we just had that one-on-one work as well.
That's fascinating. I feel like that, you obviously think about the physical side of it too. And a lot of the questions I will get to are actually mostly about mental health and the mental toughness. So I'll just keep going. But yeah, that's awesome. And so you guys had a full-time a sports psychologist, you said was their title?
His name's Sports Psych Peter, we call him.
Okay.
But he would travel with us whenever we would go play in another country. He'd always travel with us full time, but he was always available via Zoom. So he would just pop in and, pop in and out. But yeah, he was semi part time, semi full time, I guess. So
Cool.
it was available. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were the first team in the world on the rugby circuit to bring our sports psychologist with us on those tours, because he would just do a little session before we would do any, like, okay, well, before we go to the gym, okay, 5 minutes of mind gym. Okay, right before we go on the field, 5 minutes of mind gym. Let's talk about training today. Let's bring our sports psych in. So it's not these huge sessions, but just these little sprinkling things of that muscle that we're getting good at, just like training our brain.
Yeah. Very cool. So along those same lines, how do you quiet self-doubt? And when you have doubted yourself, what helped you move forward and move out of it?
Yeah, this is like I think the best question, and because of how it's phrased, one the needs to be talked about, but how it's phrased is like quieting self doubt as opposed to getting rid of self doubt. And that's something that it's a really big issue that we work with our sports psychologist about. Of you're always going to have self doubt. I mean, I had self doubt through all 32 years of my life and all the sports, and it's about, I would think, do it to two things. One is being brave of, hey, I have self-doubt, but I'm going to go out and be brave and try whatever I'm doubtful at anyway. So that's like the first piece of, I can do things while I have self-doubt and you can do it well. So that's the mindset side of I'm not going to let that be in the forefront of my focus. The second part, which is what we work on our sports psychologists with like all the time, is what are you thinking? Where's your focus? Like, what are you thinking about? Like, you can have the thoughts of like, those thoughts come in of like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. But then what are you focusing? Are you focusing on that thought? Or are you focusing on, okay, I need to kick this ball on the goal. Okay, I'm looking at that spot on the ball. I'm taking one step, two step. If you're thinking about those things, that makes it be quiet. And so I'll share an experience because I think this illuminates it really well. Of we were in Paris in the bronze medal match. So we were down by one try, and I was playing a position where you have to throw the ball in. And if you've ever watched rugby, when you throw the ball in, you have our team on this side and our team on this side, and you lift the other person up, and I have to throw it right in the middle to our teammate. So I had not been playing this position very long, and it's like very important because if you have the ball, it's really important to keep the ball. And so there was 2 minutes left in the game, in the bronze medal game. We were down one try. The ball just got kicked out, and I thought, oh no, please don't sub me in. I know this is about the time I'm probably going to get subbed in. Please don't sub me in right when I have to do the throw in. There's 70,000 people going, and I'm thinking, I've only thrown the ball in a couple of times in my career. I haven't really done it. And I remember thinking, I have so much doubt right now. Like, I don't think I can do this. And like, I could have gone down a spiral of like, if I miss this, then probably would lose the bronze medal match. Like, it was really hard. So what I did, I was jogging over. I said, okay, Elena, you're out. I got to do this really high pressured moment. And I get the ball and I'm like, okay, what's my process? Okay. I put my hand on the top of the ball, on the bottom ball. I line my thumbs up. Okay. My feet are on the line, heels. Okay. I'm looking at my teammate. Okay. I'm watching Sammy. She's telling me the call. Okay. So like, that's what's going through my mind. It's not like, oh, if you miss this ball, or if you miss throw it, you probably, that those thoughts didn't continue. I said, okay, thank you for the doubt. I'm going to focus on my process. And I felt really scared, and it was not comfortable. I think that's the misconception, is you can still be uncomfortable, but still have your focus. And that's like Olympic sports psychologist in a nutshell of everything. So I gave you a little insight of like, that's really how you perform with different emotions, of really just placing your focus and saying like, hey, I know this is like, I can't avoid this self-doubt or whatever. You can't control what's coming in, but you can say, okay, thank you. Like, I'm going to set this on this table, but I need to focus on exactly what my body needs to do to perform. So I think acknowledging self-doubt might always be there, and that's okay. And as you get more experience and you do things more, you'll get more confidence and the self-doubt will be quieter automatically. And that was the last throw in I've ever done because I retired after that. But I guarantee if I did another throw in, it'd be a little bit quiet saying, remember that one time in the bronze medal match you did it right?
Yeah.
It won't be as, it might still be there. I don't know. It has a mind of its own. But as you just keep being brave and keeping your focus, and it'll get quieter and quieter, you'll get more confidence. I mean, it'll be easier to quiet that down, but also knowing you might have to do that for all your career, which is what I feel like I had to do. So yeah, there's a lot to that, but that's a really important one.
Yeah, no, I think that's smart. So it's, don't wait till it goes away. We have to act. It
Hmm.
might not go away. And then really just focus on those small actionable steps that you have to take to, kind of power through the moment. I mean, what a last throw in to have to then,
One for
like
one, man.
I peaked, we're good. I'm getting out.
That's what I said. That's why I retired. I said I
Yeah.
don't think I can do any more throw-ins, so I
Yeah.
think I'm good.
Yeah. I have a friend who plays lacrosse, and she has named her self-doubt or her imposter syndrome Greg. So
Oh
when
yeah,
it creeps in, she just says, "Not now, Greg." And
Greg, I'm
it
busy.
it carries on, which is kind of, I don't know, just makes it this silly thing of like a pest
It's
that you
good.
just kind of swat away. But
Uh-huh.
no, and I also think there are people who probably played rugby their whole, who had 20 years of experience before getting to the Olympics that probably felt exactly how you felt, even though you had less experience. I think so. It's not really about preparation. I think it's more so just about who has the skills to quiet it
Yeah.
down.
And we did this one exercise before the Olympics. We all sat in a room and we're like, all right, guys, like, let's just all like share how we're feeling. But like we said words, and even to me and my teammates, I'm like, I think I'm the only one that has self doubt. Like, I'm newer to rugby. I mean, I've been playing for 6 years, but like some people have already been to the Olympics, and every single one of those people are like, yeah, have a lot of doubt. I'm not confident in what I'm doing. And it was all the same emotions of like, oh, every Olympian I've ever talked to, it's always there. And so I think that's maybe to your other question, that's probably one of the things that you probably don't think that Olympians have, but I think all athletes have that.
Yeah, for sure. So we talked about preparation a little bit, but one of the questions that had come through was, what is the mental and spiritual preparation and recovery process like? And is there a different approach when playing on the world stage compared to playing locally?
Yeah, that's a good question. I touched on the mind gym part, the
Yeah.
mental preparation a little bit. Part of that's your own mental preparation. I journal, and I have a lot of like awareness of what I'm thinking. So I won't go too much into that. The physical preparation, or the recovery preparation, we just spend a lot of time on recovery. So making sure we're sleeping enough, prioritizing our hydration, making sure we're eating, taking our supplements. Those things are just non-negotiables. And we had something that says we have to win the recovery. So when we play a game, we usually play a game 3 hours later. And so the team that wins the recovery is going to win. So just listening to your body and making sure that you're taking care of it, and giving it what it needs, and just making sure you check those boxes. But we also have all the recovery modalities, the ice baths, the Normatex, the rollers, the stretching, but really being really diligent about that, especially as you get older as an athlete. Like, if you're at the Olympic level, you're probably in your late 20s. And so that stuff becomes really, really important, and makes you be able to be on the field. And then the spiritual part is really interesting because people have their own spiritual parts, and what means a lot to them personally. But as a team, we had like our mission and our values that we really spent a lot of time talking about. And so we had our identity called the High Women. And the High Women it's actually a song. It's a country song
Yeah, with Maren
by the
Morris
High Women.
and Brandy Carlisle, the
Yes.
group. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Love them.
Great. And so our coach actually saw, right before 3 years before the Olympics, she said, guys, we're going to be the High Women. Listen to the song. We're like, okay. And it was about the song's about women who have like stories untold, or have overcome adversity to inspire their communities, and have just like done so much to move their community, or humans forward. And it's really cool. And so we all took a High Women who were High Women in our lives of who helped me get to this place, or how did they overcome something really hard, who inspires us. And so we all did a little presentation about who's our high women in sports and then in our lives. So a lot of people shared their grandparents or their mom or their sibling or whoever as a high woman in their life. And we're like, okay, for rugby, like we want to pave the way for women's rugby. We want to make more opportunities available for the next generation. We want to grow rugby because we think it's such a great sport and it's so good for women and for has done so much in our life. So we titled us the High Women, and that was kind of, I think, from a meaning level or a spiritual level. Like we spent a lot of time talking about that, and then we had 5 values. They were courage, resilience, work ethic, love, and did I say courage?
You did.
Oh no, courage, resilience, work ethic, love, and selflessness. I know it's in here. It's in here.
Yeah. Trained forever.
But we talked about those things every day. Like it wasn't just something like okay, how are we being selfless right now? Or how do we need to have courage in this session today? Or hey, I'm having a conversation with your teammates, some conflict. All right, don't forget our values. But that really helps guide us in everything that we did. It's something we came back to. But that's really important on a team level, but also on a personal level of like why do you do things? What's the meaning behind it? Of really thinking of like why do I do the things that I do? Like what draws me to that? What's the bigger purpose outside of myself? And so that's important because that's what's gonna, through really hard adversity and hard times, that's gonna help you move you forward and gives a lot of meaning and depth to what you're doing. So on a team level, we spent just like the mind gym part, like we had culture meetings, we had really like how are we giving back to the world? How are we through what we're doing? And our coach came in at the end, she said, hey, we're gonna go to Paris, we're gonna win a medal, and we want people to watch how we did it because that's really impactful. And so I remember her saying that specific instance 3 years before. We're like, okay, it seems so out of reach, but okay. And so it's been cool to see that of like, yeah, how we did it was really hard and we followed our values and our mission and our what we want, how we wanted to do it. So pretty special,
Yeah.
I think, having that conversation and seeing it. So that's a really important piece.
Yeah. I love that. And also we need a second album from the High Women.
We do. They're
I
gone.
can't,
They've been keeping us hanging.
I've been listening to this one album on repeat for years. So but no, I think that's really special. And also, as you mentioned, like everyone has different spiritual backgrounds, but to have something that you guys can all connect on and all focus on, I think is the perfect way to do it, and obviously very successful. Okay, so we have some questions about the Olympic Village.
Okay.
Are the beds uncomfortable?
Yes. We saw, so we kind of knew that we're like, had the same question as, are the beds going to be uncomfortable? So me and my would-be roommate, we were like, all right, let's pack a mattress topper, but we had to pack a whole nother suitcase. They're like, Steph, why are you have 2 suitcases? That it's my mattress topper because I'm so scared of the beds.
Yes.
And they cut them up because we could see like they had a demonstration. So they like cut like, hey, look, it's all sustainable and recyclable, which I think is great. It's all recyclable plastic, but it is like this plastic that's interwoven. And I'm like, you can feel all of that. So it wasn't as bad, but not great.
Yeah.
Can
Oh,
confirm.
okay. Rumors are true. And then what did a typical day look like when you were there? Being surrounded by other athletes and people from other countries and all of that.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, you feel like if anyone's ever been to Disneyland and it's like your first time in Disneyland, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelmingly cool. And we went 2 weeks early and we actually intentionally did not stay in the Olympic Village the first week. So we went to a little town, it's called Tours, it's outside of Paris, where there's nothing. Like it's a small town because like think if you went to Disneyland, you can't be that high like
Right.
and then go play 6 games and so we just spent a week there, but it's like it's so cool because you get to just walk down. It is like a little town, and so you're just walking and you just see like people that are really tall and really strong, and it's like you're eating and seeing Katie Ledecky, the swimmer. Like it's just like such a interesting place. It was probably one of the coolest experiences I've had of like you're around so many people that are just so good at their sport. And so a typical day would look like there's a dining hall. So you walk down, there's a big dining hall with a lot of different rooms of food because there's so many athletes. And we had a more of a schedule with our team of when you go. So we go, you eat breakfast, and then you walk back to our house, which is the USA house. So every country has their own little house. And then we'd usually probably do a gym session. So then there is a gym in the Olympic Village, but if you can imagine like hundreds of athletes wanting a gym, we would go like would bus off site. So we actually didn't spend a ton of time at the Olympic Village. We went to our training site and so we did the gym. Then we come back and have lunch. And you could have a little bit of downtime, free time, and they have like a place you can get your hair done or your nails done, or there's a little store and you can go, you have pins, and so you can go trade them with other countries, which is pretty cool. You can go talk to different people, but it's really hard and because you're trying to really focus and train. Like it's hard to experience everything you want to experience. It's like if you're going to Disneyland, but you got to go play a full soccer game in about an hour. It's really important. It's like, okay, yeah, I can't get too tired though. So there is a little bit of this pull of like, I wish I could just experience it more. But yeah, that's how and then we'd go to a field, train, come back, do our recovery. There's a big recovery room. And so there's ice baths and there's people who can do your massages. And that's pretty cool because you go and when I went into the recovery room to do those the Normatec legs, it's like a recovery legs. And it's like Simone Biles was in there. It's just like, it's a pretty cool environment and you try to be cool, be
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I can
Don't,
imagine.
no photos. Yeah, be cool. So that's it's really pretty boring actually, because you're just so regimented of like, eat, train, sleep, team meetings, make sure you're really connected with your team. That was a big part too for us for a team sport. You can't like just lose connection with your teammates. Those are the people you got to go play with and have the most connection with in a week. And so making sure that you have those like stay with your team is really important
Yes.
too. So
And that's it. I didn't realize that everyone was kind of like bucketed by country, but I guess that makes
mhm.
sense. So it's like you pretty much, if you were just hanging around, you would pretty much just see all the other US athletes.
Yeah, it's like a big house, so you could like
Okay.
your facilities are all USA. It's like it looks just like a big apartment building. I think like next to us was Fiji was next to us, or so like they have all that stuff, but the dining hall is all public. And
Okay.
so if you walk around, you'll see other countries, but you kind of like have a little home.
Yeah, that's awesome. That must be
Mhm.
so fun.
It
And
was
how
cool.
was the food?
Not great.
Darn.
Also not great. I'm also gluten free, and so they had gluten free pasta, but I had like that's all I had gluten free. So I had gluten free pasta for a lot of
Oh
meals,
no.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I mean, it was like fine. It's not great. It's like does the job, but they did have these two like food trucks, which this was a cool part. They had like Michelin star chefs in the little food truck that make like, but it's like the smallest little like fun snack, like a green bean something. I don't know, which was pretty fun. So that was pretty good to try. But you're really like so regimented up to the Olympics. You're eating your chicken breasts, a little pasta, salad. It's
Yeah.
like very, very strict. And you have to have it for all different kinds of athletes. Like you have swimmers who are burning so many calories, and then you have, the figures, they're the aquatics girls that are, it's just like you have a lot of different types of needs. So
And
interesting to
cultures,
see
like how do
and
you
cultures.
even, yeah, what does that menu look like?
Yeah, and we bring a lot of our own food.
Okay.
And just because, and have options, especially for me, I was gluten free. So I had a lot of different meals that we'd bring with us just in case. And so we supplement with a lot of food. And I think a lot of countries do that as well. You can bring your own food as well.
Yeah. And did you get to go watch any of the other sports?
Yeah. So we got free, I think you could apply every day as an athlete. You can get like a ticket if they
Okay.
have extras. I didn't, I just left on a trip right after, but a lot of my teammates I think they went to like volleyball and wrestling. So they got to go to a lot of sports. I watched them, but I wish I would have stayed longer, but I had a trip planned after. So I
Yeah.
didn't stay.
Awesome. Before we switch to your current day life, is there anything else about the Olympics that you think people would be interested in hearing?
Oh, well, when I walked into the Olympic Village, I really thought that it would just be like all of these physical specimens that were just like the most fittest people in the world. And it's really not. There's like so many sizes of people. There's like it was really diverse. And I just thought this would just be these like chiseled people.
Yeah,
But
that's
but
what
it
I
really
would
wasn't. I mean,
anticipate.
don't get me wrong, there were some. But there was just like, I mean, there's just so many different sizes, and there's, shooting, and there's so many different sports. And so Olympians come in all shapes and sizes.
I
So
love that. That's
yeah,
but I would expect the same thing. Everyone's like 6'6",
yeah,
percent body fat. Yeah,
yeah.
but
Not true. Myth.
amazing. All right, post Olympic life. What do you do now for work? How do you spend your time?
Yeah, well, it was really hard for me after I retired. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't really know what I'm going to do still, and I don't know what's going to call my name, like similar to how sports did. I think I'm still discovering that, but I got into business, and so I started with a company that's a startup company. They're newer, and so I do. Our founder's a psychologist, and he can or measure the mental capacity that you have. So similar to how you measure the physical capacity you have, how fit you are, how tired, how much you've trained. He does that for the mental side, and so we do that for different organizations and help like a leader or CEO be able to see his different departments or her different departments of, oh, my marketing department is really, they're really high low capacity, and help manage and understand the mental side and how that affects how you work. And so that was the closest to sports to my heart. And I'd gone to school for a lot of different things that were not business. And part of the reasons why I was so drawn to Next Girl Up, of I'd never had a lot of exposure to business, and something I'm now just currently learning and getting exposed to. I did a lot of stuff I went to occupational therapy school, and also got my master's in public administration and nonprofits, and ended up not going that route. But I tried a lot of different things before that. And so business has been really cool for me. And I like the pace of it. I like working with solving different problems with teams. And we're a pretty small company, and we just started about 2 years ago. So a lot of growth, a lot of fun things that I really enjoy.
Yeah, you touched on this a little bit, but tell me more about the skills that you think you've been able to bring to this small team from your experience that maybe otherwise you wouldn't have.
Yeah. I mean, so many. First is just people learn working in a team. Like, I think it's really easy for me to work in a team, and understanding people's strengths and how I talk to them and how we solve problems together and how we push each other and how we hold each other accountable. Like, those are all things that I worked on every single day with my teammates. That translated really easily. And that's number one. I think the ability to be coached, like taking feedback and learning, and not taking it personally, but using that to grow or to make the best decision or make the best product. And being able to be coached is a really, really good skill to have. And knowing how to grow and knowing how to use that. A lot of people struggle with that skill. And then I think I touched on it when this is something that I wish that I didn't do when I was younger. Is like, I'm not afraid to be bad at something. And just knowing, like, I know how to get better at something. I know how to learn it at something. Like, I did it when I was playing rugby, and I literally knew nothing, and then I became an Olympian. Like, I think I can do that. And so, like, being like, oh, I don't know how to do this. I have no idea what you just said. Will you teach me? And that skill of using that to just really embrace where you are, but then like just keep growing and pushing up has really been helpful. And then learning how to fail. Like, I think I fail all the time, and sports really has taught me how to think about failure. I don't even want to call it failure, but how
Yeah.
to think about that and how you learn from those things, and knowing how important that part of the growth process that is. It's like an unnecessary part. That's really helped me, especially going into something new that I don't know. I've been failing a lot, but really just being resilient and pushing through. That's helped me. And I mean, so many things. I think that who I am as an athlete, I do the same things just in a different world. So I feel really prepared, and I was surprised to learn that I think I had so many skills that I learned through sports that I ended up using. I'm like, oh, I think I'm really good at that. Oh, that's cool that I'm good at that, And like, oh, if I'm not good at something, I know how to get better at it.
Yeah, I know. I love working with current or former athletes because everything you just mentioned is true, but then also, the little stuff that is so important, like the time management, the
Mhm.
prioritizing, whatever it might be. It's like whether you know, I think we all have stress dreams about showing up to practice late. forever and
Yeah.
ever. Like it's just will
I still do.
haunt me forever. I have this stress dream where I can't find all my equipment, and it's like
Yeah.
I find one and then I lose something else, and it's like I wake up sweating. So it's like I know we all just like have these skills ingrained in us, and we don't want to let anybody down, especially if you're coming
Mhm.
from a team sport. But I also think what you mentioned is so important, that like saying you don't know something but teach me is so freeing, and especially in business it can be, when you're sitting in a room and you're the only female in the room and there's 10 guys in the room with you, and it's like you to be able to let your guard down and just say like I don't know something, because 90% of them don't either.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
true.
to not have to have this front all the time of like I have everything figured out, I don't, it's just can be really freeing and actually helps you grow so
Mhm.
much more.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you, let's see, we've touched on most of this, but what I guess my final question for you would be, what advice do you have for younger athletes or just younger individuals who feel insecure about their ability to compete at a higher level or get that job that they might not think, they're eligible to? What would you tell them?
Oh, well, I would first say congratulations. That's a really great opportunity to be somewhere where you're pushed, and that's probably a really good opportunity. So first, congratulations. And I think I have the little sign. It's kind of corny, but I have the sign in my kitchen, and it says, if you're uncomfortable, then you're growing. And that, I think when I made that frame, like when I went onto the national team, when I didn't know anything about rugby, and I'm like, so like I should not be here, and I'm so scared. I was so uncomfortable, but I was growing massively. And if you reframe like, hey, I don't think I belong here, but like, oh, actually this is like what a cool opportunity, and I'm really uncomfortable, and that means that I'm growing. And it's not fun. I've just to acknowledge it's not fun being the worst person in the room. It's not fun being the worst person in the field, but those are the opportunities that like not everybody gets those. And I always throughout my whole sports career, like I would never be the best person on my team. Like I hated being the best person on my team. I hated like I always wanted to be on the best team, and I wanted people to be better than me because that is how you're going to grow. And that's the goal, and just to be the best version of yourself you can be, and just being kind with yourself. Like I think we're out so hard on ourselves, and really once you have that release of like it's okay to not be the best person, but you're growing, and framing it like you can do it, and you just got to put in work. And it's a long way of saying that, but really like it's a really great thing if you are put in those situations where you can play at the higher level and you can be the worst person. And if you're uncomfortable, then you're growing, so you're in the right place, like you're on the right track. Good job.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And there's that very popular saying, but I have no idea who said it, where if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Mhm.
And
Right.
it's so true. And the times where I have not, I've been far from the smartest person in the room, it does give you pause for a second of like, of that self-doubt and like, can I do this? But once you get past that and can reframe it, it's amazing, once you get through the event or the whatever it might be.
Yeah,
It can be really cool. So I will leave you.
absolutely.
We have one more question that just came in, and then we will wrap up. Do you have a daily habit that you swear by?
Well, that's a good question. I would say it's daily, but it's definitely part of I think what I do. One is I've been stretching a lot more because I think my body's really been of a lot of injuries, but something that I've incorporated that's really important, and this can be in a lot of different ways. It's really carrying that gratitude practice I talked about. Like sometimes it can feel forced or like, but really like carrying some type of gratitude practice. I do this through like when I journal. I'll just say like a few things I'm thankful for. People can do it through praying, just talking, whatever practice like that you have, but like making sure that you say things you're thankful for. Like, and I do think also there's a lot of research on this, the like really high athletes and performers have some type of gratitude practice that they do. And it can just be one thing a day. And I know when I grew up, like we always said, when we were good around the dinner table, say something you're thankful for. But that's something like I really will say is really anchoring and really make sure that your mindset is in the right place for whatever you're doing. So I think I'd swear by that and stretching because the back hurts
The
these
back
days.
hurts. We got if the mind can be great, but the body's gotta
Yeah,
match it. We can't let one
I know.
slip.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Exactly.
yeah, I'm 37, so I have a few years on you, and I can't tell you. I wish I could go back and even tell my 32-year-old self to stretch
Stretch.
and to lift heavy weights, and it'll be okay.
Listen, you'll thank your older self will thank you, but just stretch. I know it doesn't make a difference. You don't feel it then, but you will. You
You
will
will.
feel it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
So
thank you so much, Steph. I really appreciate your time. But that is it. And Steph, thank you again so much and safe travels.
thanks for having me.